Welcome to Road to Recovery.
Hello and welcome to Road to Recovery, advocacy and insights for trucking accidents with Sagi Shaked. Sagi is founder of Shaked Law Personal Injury Lawyers and is ranked as one of the top 100 trial lawyers in the United States by the American Trial Lawyers Association, with a wealth of experience in personal injury, wrongful death, and complex litigation cases. He passionately advocates for victims and has recovered multi-million-dollar settlements in damages for his clients. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today's episode is Exposed, the 5 dirty secrets trucking companies and their insurers use to cheat accident victims. Are you falling for them? Sagi, welcome back.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for having me. Look forward to this one.
All right, well, let's talk about some tricks. What are some of the most common tricks that trucking companies use to avoid responsibility after an accident?
So, trucking companies employ a couple of different tactics that everybody should really know and really be on the lookout for them. Whether you're doing the case by yourself or you're a lawyer, you really should be in tune to a couple of different things. So let's get started with it. The first one I would say is trucking companies want to settle these cases fast and they want to settle them early. And there's a reason for that. If they settle them fast, they don't know the extent of the injuries, they can settle your case for peanuts, basically. So the faster they can get to someone, and usually what they try to do is get to the people before they get a lawyer. And I say that because if they get to them before they get a lawyer, people don't know the value of their cases. And so that's one trick that they have up their sleeve. A second trick that they do is that they don't give you the full policy disclosure, meaning in every case, they're supposed to tell you, depending on the state that you live in, of course. In Florida, for example, they have to disclose the amount of insurance. Now, most clients don't know that, but attorneys should know that. But there's levels of insurance and there's different towers of insurance. And what do I mean when I say a tower? So imagine like a tower that goes up, right? So there's levels of insurance that tower one above the other. So you really need to know who you're dealing with and how much insurance you're dealing with. Because if you have a case that's worth $15 million and you settle it for $1 million and, because you don't do trucking for a living, you go out there as an attorney and you think you did a good job for your client, when in reality, you left a lot of money on the table because you didn't get all the towers involved. So insurance companies are very sneaky about telling you how much insurance they have. You really need to push them and get all their limits. And you might even want to take a deposition of the corporate representative to go over the insurance limits and every single policy that they have. Don't rely on what they tell you because it's not in their incentive to tell you the exact amount. While they have to do it, they don't always do it. So that's the second thing that I would say is extremely important. Another thing that we have to talk about when we talk about tricks that they do is they don't disclose all the evidence. And so you may have a case where a trucking company causes a crash. And again, you might think there's $1 million in insurance, but there might be more evidence where you can go after a different company, or there's evidence that maybe the manufacturer messed up. So those are some of the things they don't disclose. Logbooks. They'll give you the wrong sets of logbooks, or they'll give you misinformation on the logbooks. So that's something you need to look into. Again, they're going to fight you on everything. They're going to fight you to the death before they give you any of this information. And they're not going to voluntarily turn over anything. So these cases need to be litigated. You can't sit there and hope and pray that they'll pay you. That's not the way it works. Not with these cases. They have their lawyers across the state, in every state, and they fight everything. Another thing that they try to do also is to string you along. So if they know you're represented, they're going to string your lawyers along, especially if they know your lawyers aren't specialists in trucking. They're going to push them and string them along. They're not going to give them evidence. And why do they string you along? So on one hand, I told you they want to settle these cases fast. But on the other hand, they also want to string you along. And why do I say that is because the personnel files, they only have to keep them for a certain amount of time. The logbook, even though it's a file folder in your computer, they disappear. So they will be erased. They don't have to keep them. That's the federal law. So keep in mind those 5 things when you're thinking about these types of cases. Those are little secrets that we talk about that they do. And I know they do this because, again, I used to be a defense lawyer. So we were taught these things on how to maximize the savings for the insurance companies.
Dirty stuff.
Big time.
What role do the trucking insurance adjusters play in minimizing the victim compensation?
So insurance adjusters, they're out there right away. They want to get in touch with you right away. They want to settle your case right away. And then again, they keep asking for more and more and more information. And it's really hard for someone who doesn't do this for a living. For example, I had a family member recently that was involved in an accident. Thankfully, there was no injuries, but dealing personally with the property damage aspect, getting your car repaired, going through the rigmaroles that they put you through just to get your car repaired is a whole nightmare in and of itself. And I know what I'm doing, but I can imagine someone who doesn't deal with this on a daily basis, having to deal with the insurance companies, them lowballing you, them wanting you to get, not original equipment manufacturing parts, parts that are rebuilt as opposed to original equipment, little things like that they put you through the ringer before you get paid. So adjusters make your life difficult. They're supposed to make your life easy, but in reality, they work for the insurance company. They're trying to save the insurance company money. So it's your job as an attorney, if you're the attorney or if you're the client, not to cave into that and not to fall for the first low offer that they give you or the second or the third. Their job is to save money. So our job is to maximize money and get fair compensation for our clients. So I would say they're out there to save the insurance company's money. So just be careful on what you do and then also when you get involved in the case.
Yeah, I could see like a big legal team with a trucking company can really kind of overwhelm an accident victim, right? Make them just like that would be difficult to take in all that information.
Yeah, they overwhelm you. And then remember, when you're not used to doing these types of cases, let's take, for example, like the black box data. If you don't have your own expert going down and downloading the black box data, you're not going to get all the information that you need. Or the telematics. Telematics tells you what's going on at all times with the truck. So a lot of trucks have these cameras that are facing interior of the cab and some facing exterior on the cab. And they track every single thing that's going on, every movement, every lane change, every swerving, every speeding. These trucking companies know every single detail. Now, if you don't know what information to ask for, you're not going to get the information you need to prosecute your case. So think about that. That's just one little thing with the black box or the telematics. You also have the logbooks. You may not get a full set of logbooks, or they may omit something from the logbooks, or if you don't request the right things. Again, I've had cases, I think I've talked about this in the past, where we got 3 sets of logbooks from the truck driver. We got one set, the trucking company got a set. And then when they stopped in at the weigh station, there was another set shown to the officer at the weigh station. And this is all because the truck drivers need to drive hours to make money. And so they submit certain logbooks to their company so they can get paid, but they do more miles and they want to know how many miles they're doing on their own. So they keep their own logbooks. They know how to manipulate the electronic logbooks, just like you can manipulate software. You can manipulate written logs. You can manipulate electronic logs. So you really have to know what to request. You have to request the raw data. You don't just want to go in there and say, just give me your logbooks and hopefully everything will work out. It just doesn't happen that way. So I'm not saying they all do it, but there's a good portion and a good amount of trucking companies that do it. So be on the lookout for that. Know what to ask. And again, I offer to anyone listening that wants my preservation letter, I'll give you the boilerplate, and then you really have to tailor it to your own case.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see accident victims make when it comes to trucking accidents?
So first things first is never, ever, ever try to settle the case on your own. You're gonna definitely get a lot lower than you would if you went to a specialist, someone who's board certified, someone who knows what they're doing in trucking, someone who's settled and tried these cases before. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, if you're going to a lawyer, do the research on the lawyer. Just because a lawyer does personal injury, that doesn't mean they do trucking. They can tell you they do, but ask your lawyer, have you ever tried a case? How many cases have you tried? Have you gotten a 7-figure verdict? That's $1 million to $10 million. Have you gotten over a $10 million verdict, an 8-figure verdict? Have you settled a case for 9 figures? You got to know who you're hiring. You want a Mickey Mouse result, and go hire a Mickey Mouse lawyer. But you want real results, you want to hire someone who's been in the trenches, someone who knows what they're doing, someone who's had results. So that's the first mistake I see people making. Second mistake, not preserving evidence. It's not just sending out that preservation letter, but it's going out, hiring the right experts that need to go to the scene, that need to inspect that truck. I see so many lawyers that do not do the truck inspections. You have to do those inspections if you want to get all the information in the case. You want to find out what's really going on in that truck, in that cab. Don't rely on your expert to just go there. You need to get out there and get to that inspection, see that truck with your own eyes, see what's going on. And then also, when you're preserving stuff, make sure you follow up and get all the information, not the selective information the insurance companies and the trucking companies want to give you. So don't rely on what the insurance companies give you. Again, they're trying to protect their money. If you have that in your mind every time you're doing these cases, they're BSing you. They're trying to save their money. Don't rely on what they're telling you. If they're telling you there's only $1 million in coverage, don't stop. Keep looking. Try to see if there's a broker involved. Try to see if there's a shipper involved. Try to see if someone else is involved. Amazon does that a lot with the delivery service providers they hire and try to get away with that. And we'll do a whole talk on that in the near future on Amazon and delivery service providers and how to work around that.
Are there certain federal or state regulations that trucking companies will violate, and how can they be used in your case?
So the main ones, so there are federal regulations that apply to interstate trucking companies. Those are trucking companies that go between different states. And then there's state regulations and federal ones that apply to intrastate. Now, the state regulations, they kind of mimic or copy the federal regulations. So they almost say the same thing. So some of the federal regulations or state regulations that I think are critical to trucking cases is, we'll start off with the personnel file. So personnel file is a file that you have to keep on each truck driver. Every trucking company has to do that. They have to keep it for a while. And then they have to know about where they found this driver, how they found this driver, what are this driver's qualifications. In the past, I took a deposition of a safety director. He found his truck driver on Craigslist, which was, I found pretty interesting. He kind of denied it, but eventually he caved in. There's a whole, maybe we'll play one clip on one of our episodes so I can show you how you go through the deposition of the safety director. So another regulation that you look for is, we talked about the logbooks, the electronic logbooks, and how they keep them and what they have to keep and when the logbooks start. So you always want to get that raw data to make sure that they didn't mess with the logbooks. Now, also there's federal law requires them to have the telematics. So this is something that's new. You start seeing it a lot in trucking companies. So that's something important also. That'll tell you everywhere they've been, every stop they've had, every swerve they've made, every time they sped, every time they've had an accident, the person's fallen asleep on the wheel. They are getting every detail on the driver and the load. These are important things when you're talking about prosecuting these cases and getting justice for your clients and the people and their families that have been injured from trucking accidents.
How do the trucking companies shift the blame onto the victim? And how can you kind of counter that?
Yeah, so pretty much in every case, they're going to find a way to attack the victim or the victim's family. If they can get an accident reconstruction expert to put some blame on the person who was injured, they're going to do that. And the reason they have their teams in place from the moment these truck accidents happen, remember, so a truck accident happens, the first phone call that truck driver is making is not to the police, it's not to 911, it's to risk management, because they're trying to protect their money. And then they call the police. We've had that happen in numerous cases where that's their number one phone call that they make. So the reason they make that is because the truck industry has accident reconstruction experts ready, lined up in their pocket all over the country to protect their money. And when I say protect their money, they're trying to protect their assets. So they want to get to the scene before you get a chance to get to the scene, before your attorney gets a chance to get to the scene, or we get a chance to get to the scene. Most of the time, we're not getting to the scene the same day because the family members are not worried about a scene. They're worried about their family members that are in the hospital. Sure. So we get there not at the same time. So they get an advantage with that, but they're always trying to protect their money with the experts blaming and denying, delaying, not paying. That's what they do. That's kind of the theme that runs around with these trucking cases. They don't want to pay. That's why you need to get someone who knows what they're doing, an attorney who's handled these cases. And again, they'll shift the blame. They'll, whatever they can find, whether it's, how the accident occurred, or even if they're at fault, the next thing they're going to try to do is they're going to follow you. They're going to hire surveillance people to follow you, to follow your clients, to say one thing to trip you up, anything to protect their money and avoid paying. That's what they do. So when you get one of these, you really need to contact, someone who knows what they're doing. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions. We're going to help you. We're going to walk you through it. This is what we do.
What should someone do immediately after a truck accident to ensure that their rights are protected?
So number one is I wouldn't talk to the insurance company. I would avoid talking to anyone on the insurance side. I would let the lawyer like myself or someone on my team or someone, depending what state you're in, someone who handles trucking cases. If you're not sure who's the best lawyer in that state, call me. I'll walk you through it. I'll put you in touch with the right lawyer. So you want a lawyer who knows what they're doing. Do not contact the insurance company. They're going to ask you for a statement. They're going to want to record you. Again, if you have in mind that their whole goal is to protect their money, that's what they're doing, protecting their money. So it's our job as lawyers to help protect your case and ensure that your case gets fair and full compensation. So number one, don't talk to the insurance company. Number two, contact a lawyer that knows what they're doing, not just any lawyer. And number three, if you're hurt, get treatment. If you're not hurt, don't waste your time with a case. And then also, when you get the treatment, make sure you're going to the best doctors who can provide the best care and the best treatment so you can get better. Those are the key points for that question.
Great advice as always. Well, thanks for tuning in to Road to Recovery, advocacy and insights for trucking accidents with Sagi Shaked. For more information or to connect with Sagi, you can check out shakedlaw.com. And of course, please like and subscribe to our channel and leave us a review. We really appreciate it. Sagi, always great to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.